Good morning. It is Mickey and Wendy on our local tour Tuesday. We are here at Cornerview Club Lambs with Doug Wilson, who is the shepherd, and Terry Dallas from 5 Star Lamb. And they are going to tell us a little bit about the sheep and lambing and meat business.
So welcome to Cornerview Club Lambs. A lot of people, when they drive by on 29, halfway between Bondwell and Shawano, they see the sheep out on the pasture, and they're always curious about the sheep farm and the big red barn. And so today we'll just talk a little bit and show you what goes on at this operation. I am Doug Wilson, one of the owners of Cornerview Club Lambs, and Terry Dallas will join us a little later to talk about 5 Star. We have about 135 ewes here. We primarily have 2 breeds, Hampshires, which you'll see later are the black-faced ewes, and then we also have white-faced ewes, which are called polypays. We have about 190 lambs on the farm right now, so there's a little over 300 head of sheep that are here at Cornerview at the present time. We're located right at County Trunk B and T, thus the name Cornerview. So we're starting out here in the lambing barn. We start lambing in the middle of December, and we go through the middle of March. In fact, we finished lambing about 10 days ago. During that 90-day period, we're here 24/7 when it's busy. Right behind me is the office. It's equipped with TV, fridge, microwave, the couch so we can get in a little sleep. And we do 3 8-hour shifts, and we stay here with the sheep 24 hours a day during the lambing season. Also in there is a large screen. We have cameras on every pen in all the barns, and so we're hooked up internet-wise, so we can watch the sheep either in the office or on our phones at all times. During that 90-day period, this barn is full of ewes in each one of the lambing pens, or lambing jugs as they're called. So the ewes and the lambs are in the jugs. They're in here for about 5 days. Before they move on out to the other barn, we want to make sure that the lambs are off to a good start. They start their vaccinations. So just like a child, we have a series of immunization shots that the young lambs get. Many of them are lifetime shots, but to make sure that they're healthy for the rest of their life. Also, we ear tag the lambs. We put a tag in each ear, so that way, and we record that in the computer. That way we know the mother, the father, and the birth date of every lamb. And of course, the reason for the 2 ear tags is on occasion one of them will lose a tag. We'll move on to the other barn, but I would just comment that we average about 1.7 lambs per ewe. So we get a few triplets. We get lots of twins, and then of course lots of singles. In the 25 years that we've been here, we've only had a handful of quads. That's quite unusual with sheep, but we do get 6 to 10 sets of triplets every year. So we, as I said, we average 1.7 lambs per ewe. So we'll move on in to the next barn. And again, they spend 5 days in here, and they're off to a good start when we move them out of this barn into what we call the transition barn, and that's the next phase. So when they move from there, they come into these pens, which have about 3 to 5 ewes per pen. And really the purpose of this barn is that the lambs learn to follow their mothers before they go into the big population. So this way they're in a small group. They learn what it's about to not be just in a single pen. They learn to be in some group housing, and then later we move into the other pen. In this pen right now, these are the last lambs that were born. They're about 10 to 12 days old, as you can see. So lambs, when they're born, weigh about 7 pounds on the average. And sheep are amazing animals. In the first few weeks of growth, they will gain 1 pound per day. So they grow very, very rapidly. Most people don't realize that. So these lambs were about 7 pounds old when 7 pounds of weight when they were born, and now they're 10 to 14 days old. Then they move into the large population, and they go into the group housing. This is simply storage for hay and straw between the barns. And then they'll move into the major big barn until their weaning time. And this barn is set up into 3 large pens. Each pen holds 25 to 30 ewes. You'll notice in the corners of the pen is what we call the creep feeders. And so you'll see the small entryways, only lambs can get through there. There's heat lamps, so when the lambs are young, you'll see the series of heat lamps so that they can stay warm and dry during the cold weather. And also they can get creep feed to supplement the mother's milk all the time that they are in there. So these lambs that you'll notice in here are about 5 weeks of age. So you'll notice the difference in size of those that were 2 weeks old, and now these are 5 weeks old in this pen. And then it just graduates on up. And so this set of lambs are actually 7.5 weeks old. In fact, this group gets weaned this weekend, this Saturday. So we wean lambs at 8 weeks of age. So after they're born, then at 8 weeks they get weaned. And so again, you notice the difference in the size of the 2 weeks, 5 weeks, and 8 weeks of age. Once the lambs are weaned, then the mothers no longer receive grain or corn. They receive just hay after they are done lactating or nursing with the babies. We attempt to handle the sheep with the least amount of confusion as possible so that we don't stress the sheep. So you'll notice that we have an entire chute system here. And at the current time, you'll notice at the end of this is the blue crate. So we're in the process of trimming feet right now. We trim feet twice a year. And so the sheep simply come through the chute. They go into the blue crate. This is tipped up on its side. We trim their feet just like you trim your toenails. But in this way, we're not lifting or wrestling with the sheep. They're lifted up. We trim their feet. It's turned back down. We open the head and they walk out. So again, trying to keep the least amount of confusion and stress on the sheep as possible as we work with them. When we go down to the third pen, this is a group of ewes that now all of their babies have been weaned. So these are the ewes that would have lambed in December. And so already their babies have been weaned and they're in the east barn now on full feed. So these ewes, as I mentioned, no longer get grain. They're just full-time hay. And of course these ewes are anxious for spring to come because as soon as the grass gets about 4 to 6 inches tall, they'll be turned out and you can drive by on 29 and see them out on the pasture again. So they're just waiting for the grass to get up high enough. People are always asking me about why they're in different pastures. We do a very concentrated pasture management. Sheep are different than cattle and horses. They only like to eat grass that is about 4 to 6 inches tall. And so we rotate the pastures, and every time one of the pastures is about 4 to 6 inches, we move the ewes onto that pasture and then onto the next one. And we actually have 5 different pastures that the sheep graze on during the summertime here at Cornerview. Our business model is really 3 sources of revenue. The primary source is selling show lambs. So we sell to 4-H and FFA kids all over the country. We sell in 3 ways. Private treaty, where they come to the farm and they pick out a lamb that they want to show and we sell it to them. We sell online. We've had 2 online sales so far. We'll have 2 more, so we'll have 4 online sales during the year. And then we go to live auctions. 2 weeks ago we were in Des Moines, Iowa. Last week in Indianapolis. In 3 weeks we go to Oklahoma City to sell. We'll sell about 80 show lambs into about 15, 16, 17 states. So far this year, we've sold lambs to 11 different states. Then our second revenue source is selling breeding stock. And so we've already sold 3 rams to people for their flocks. We'll sell about 8 to 10 rams per year. And then we also sell aged ewes and young ewes to other flocks to improve their genetics or increase the size of their flocks. And then our third source of revenue is Cornerview Club Lamb provides the sheep or sells sheep to Five Star Lamb, a business that was started a few years ago. And I'll let Terry Dallas tell you about Five Star Lamb. Terry?
All right, so thank you, Doug. So Doug talked about that they sell a lot of lambs to 4-Hers and for 4-H projects, and that's actually how the Five Star Lamb started. So I have 3 children. I was a big 4-Her growing up, and I wanted those kids to have that same experience. I grew up with dairy, actually so did Doug, and but I lived in a house outside of Shawano and no barns. And so Doug had said that he was like, have you ever thought of showing sheep? I'm like, not really. But sheep are a very, very easy thing for kids to show. They're small, much easier to handle than dairy. And so my 3 kids started showing sheep actually with his 2 grandchildren. And at the end of the season, we would have lambs left over, and we were like, what are we going to do with them? We started to sell them to family and to friends. And we're like, hey, this works out pretty good. And so actually the kids are done with 4-H now, but then we decided to keep the business going. And so Doug and Doug's son Roy and his wife Lacey and Mike Bohm and I started Five Star Lamb. So 5 of us, 5 stars. And so as Doug said, we do buy all of our meat or all of our sheep from Cornerview. And then we work with Adams Meat in Pella as our processor. And so we have freezers full of lamb meat available, and we sell them from the farm, and we also sell at farmers markets. We've sold in the past at Green Bay, and we've sold most of the time at the Shawano Farmers Market, now the Fresh Project Farmers Market. And then last year, when the pandemic started, we started selling lamb meat online also. So you can also purchase our lamb online at www.fivestarlamb.com. Let's see, we have all different kinds of cuts. Probably our most popular would be our lamb chops, which are amazing. One of the things that we do is, we not only have a large loin eye on them, but we also have them cut about 1.25 inches thick. So if you go into a fancy restaurant, that's the way they do it, and that's the way we have ours cut. We also sell ground lamb, we sell lamb patties, shoulder roast. Right now, leg of lamb, of course, right before Easter is very, very popular. And then we do some of the other snack type items. We have summer sausage, summer snack sticks, and and brats, also very popular. Wisconsin, you have to have brats, right? So it's a fun business. We've been at it, I believe it's 5 years now, and it's a really good way to mesh our love of agriculture. We're always, when we go to the farmers market, part of the thing that we're doing is we're talking to the public. Everybody wants to know where their meat comes from now. And actually, this is a really good way of showing where their meat comes from. But we do, part of that is talking to the consumers and our customers there and letting them know all about our farm practices and being as transparent today as we can with our consumers, because we know that's very, very important. So if you're interested, give us a call, stop on by. We're almost always here to serve you, or you can see us this summer at the Fresh Project Farmers Market. Thank you, and hope you enjoyed the tour.